Welcome back in episode 3 of the B-Dub Bros podcast. We are back again with more of a crazy week in sports. We'll quickly jump into just a recap of the end of the basketball season. We saw the Final Four, a couple of the best games that we saw all throughout the tournament. Duke with their big lead can't hold on. Florida running their magic for basically the last 4 or 5 games of the season. And then we get to the national championship and see more of the same. Quick reaction from my co-host, Mr. Logan. What'd you think about Final Four and then going into the national championship?
What's going on, bro? Yeah, I mean, you said it. That's exactly what I was kind of thinking. The Florida did it again. They figured out a way to win somehow. They had enough time. They figured it out and they did it. Still reeling from the Duke Houston game. That was, man, got a lot of thoughts on both sides of that. And speaking of, Houston got duked, basically. Florida did what Houston did to Duke, which is, I mean, romantic poetry, as some would say. But that is sports, and that's why we love it.
Yeah, it turns out Florida just did it to basically everybody.
They
They
really did.
trailed, I think, in every game of the tournament and
Uh-huh.
just found a way.
Well,
And
especially
to your,
from
you're good. Go ahead.
the Sweet 16 on, they I don't know why I thought Houston was going to win. Because Florida did this 4 times before. I should have just known that was going to happen. So it was written already in the history of this season, I guess, because they did it about 4 times, and I think
It
you're right.
is one of those. Yeah, to your point, it kind of felt like, and the team of destiny thing is never fun when you have to compare it to a program like Florida, who has accomplishes so much in every sport. They're a really impressive program, unfortunately, for teams that don't root for Florida, but
Mm-hmm.
it really felt like watching them play. It was a kind of a destiny type of run where you just, at every point, UConn had them, Auburn had them, everybody had them on the ropes, and just they never got closed out.
Yeah, yeah, never. They just, like I said, they just found a way, and that was just how it was going to go. And I thought the game was over, just like I thought the Auburn game was over, like the UConn game was over, and you know, Florida does Florida things and won another national title. Uh, that is what they do. As much as I can't stand that program, that is what they do. They're gonna win something every now and then, and you're gonna be like, why can't that be us?
Yeah, that's 3 national championships in I think the last 20 years or so. But the other two, I think, were the back to back with Billy
Mm-hmm.
Donovan,
Yep.
Joakim Noah. That those teams were just ridiculous, so good back then. But yeah, that's kind of puts them in that conversation where you start to look at Florida and say, well, I mean, really are one of those powerhouse basketball.
No,
They're kind of the everything stereotypical everything school that you kind of hear about.
yeah, I would say they're definitely getting back to that. I wouldn't say they've been in the past decade or so, but I would say they are now. I'd say they're getting back to that. Football, you know, old Sunbelt Billy, man, he surprised us last year, and baseball's pretty good, and then basketball, there they go again. All of a sudden, they're winning the titles again, just like all is right in the world. Uh, and here
Yeah,
we go
and
as Tennessee fans, just waiting for next year.
yeah, you see everything, like you said, kind of moving in Florida's direction from the tournament perspective. From other sports, you see them kind of, you feel like the talent's coming back in after they've had some bad years in football, some other sports, and then you kind of flip the coin to the other side, kind of wrapping up the tournament side. We saw Duke up 9, 2 minutes left against Houston. They can't get it done. Houston turns around, does the almost the same thing. They're
Yeah.
handling Florida. They played the perfect game. Give us a little bit of reaction to first kind of what Duke does, and then Houston just
Yeah.
showing how hard it is to win college basketball games.
So let me preface by saying, I speak for a lot of people that saying I love to watch Duke lose in basketball. That being said, the most logical reaction I've seen to this is two things can be true. Duke got screwed. That was a terrible call. I don't care who you are. But they also let Houston back in that game. You shouldn't have had to rely on a bad call to win that basketball game. And that's just how it is. Two things came together and made you lose. And sorry, Duke, but that's how it is.
100% true. Like you said, the over the back call on flag is one of those that you watch back on replay, you watch back in real time, and you're thinking, where's the foul? But then you turn around and say, well, Cooper Flag has the ball down one, a chance to go win it, and then you get another possession, a chance to go tie it, and you come up blank twice. So it's one of those, yes, a terrible call, but like you said, you didn't close them out, and then you don't finish the job,
Yep.
and
And
that's how it goes.
and he misses a shot. He probably makes 100 out of 101 times. You know.
Yeah, it, for sure. And then, like you said, Houston, they're the beneficiary. They turn around and they say, "Hey, Duke, look what we can do."
Yeah. Well, hey, Duke. We know how that feels now. I mean, uh, short of a bad call to end it, I mean, it was the same last 2 minutes, and it was wild to see of those two games. Um, pretty.
Yeah,
Someone.
that final possession that Houston has with the ball, they choose to go for the three, and then you get stuck. And it's one of those that hindsight, of course, once you don't get the shot off, of course, if you touch it, it's a travel. But then now that you kind of look back at it, you're down two. You probably want to take the travel, put Florida on the line, because then you've still got 8 seconds left, and it just ends up being a everybody kind of is frozen, and you just run out of time. Just one of those final possessions that you look back on and say, man, that could have went so many different ways.
It reminds me of a player. I mean, and I'm sure this is the case. Very smart in the language of the game, but can't think of the best option at the time. He was thinking for about his team, and unfortunately, it was probably the wrong decision. You probably do want to take that foul there, or that violation there. So yeah, that's tough. That is tough, and
Yeah.
you got to wait a whole another year to try again. And trust me, we know how that feels as Tennessee fans. So
Yeah, really tough there. And it was one of those that maybe that's the right shot. Maybe you go for the win there, but also you got plenty of time, and maybe you don't settle for the 30-footer to try to win the game. So it's,
yeah, yeah,
with how well coached that Houston team is, those guys look back and say, dang, we really, really had that game under control. And like you said, only one team doesn't lose at the end of the year in the big tournament. And it really stinks if you lose it that way at the end.
yeah, yeah. That's all there is to say about that.
For sure. And just to kind of wrap up now, college basketball season is officially over. I do have to give a quick shout out to my wife's area of the world where Nebraska wins the CBC championship. I don't know if you saw that college
Yeah,
basketball crown. They come
yeah.
out and really were dominant. A team that should have been in the tournament, they lose, I think, their last 4 or 5 games of the season to play themselves out of the tournament, and then go win that one so nice consolation prize. And then some recruiting news that I know that you're interested in. A team that Tennessee struggled against this year in basketball gets their best player,
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Carey,
Yep.
transfers from Vandy. He's a big man and can score, which Tennessee, they have really good defensive big men, really needed one that can score. they get one, that's a big get for them portal.
Yeah, they were lacking that a little bit last year. Not that they didn't have enough guys that could score, they just didn't have enough guys that were consistent enough to score. So Rick Barnes is doing it again. I mean, he's he's recruiting well as he always does, and good on Nebraska. I saw so yeah, I mean the CBC. You're like, oh yeah, whatever. Well, I don't know if you saw, but they got a $300,000 NIL reward package for winning that. So I mean, laugh all you want, but they won a championship and they got a pretty good little chunk of change for it. So good on them. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
for sure. Yeah, and I mean, like like you say, it's one of those that a team that was pretty good throughout the year in the Big Ten, which is one of the better conferences, and to go out, you win. You just really ran through the tournament, didn't play a particularly close game, and that's a great way to build momentum going into the new year where a lot of these Big Ten teams are losing players. And who knows, maybe you give yourself a chance moving into the next year and get back to the tournament where a team, a program like Nebraska is not necessarily a basketball school, but a storied program should be represented in these big tournaments, big postseasons. So
Yeah.
see if they get back to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they will. I think they're one of those programs that are on the rise. Hey, can you edit these videos? Like cut me out for a second? Or just leave this fun moment in for the audience because I have a cat outside that sounds like a banshee because she's in the storm right now. So I got to go let her in. But, keep it in for entertainment or whatever. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'll cut it out.
Come on. Yeah. So, anyways, I think Nebraska's got a good future ahead of them in basketball. I don't know about football. I'm still mad at Matt Rule. So, I got something else for him too as well later on.
Yeah, we will go into a change in the home and home. Tennessee did find an opponent for that 26-27 season. One more thing before we move into kind of our transition into really what's quickly becoming football season. The last thing I have on college basketball to wrap it up is we saw Ryan Kalkbrenner. I don't know if you saw this. The
Mhm.
Creighton, he wins Player of the Year over Zakai Ziegler and Meshack. Kind of a surprise. He was a really good player, but you the way that it was portrayed from a lot of what I saw, it felt like it was going to be one of the Tennessee guys. They finish up runner up, but really good player, just of note to
Yeah,
see him win the Player of the Year.
yeah. The awards like that tend to go to the most popular player, and I felt like it was far and away Zakai Ziegler. But I mean, good for him. I'm not mad about that. I think he was deserving. So, great player. So yeah, a little surprised, but uh, not not angry about it. Not gonna shake or
Yeah,
rattle at it. No.
to me, he was one of those that kind of looking at his season, it was almost more of do you give it to the guy who is making an impact on games like Meshack was, or do you give it to the guy whose stat sheets show more of an impact? And it ended up, I think, kind of going to the statistical side, which is completely fair. If you look at a stat sheet, his ends up looking better than what Meshack did, and Ziegler with he
Yeah.
was a front court guy. It makes sense, but just of note for a couple of Tennessee guys that they've always got one of those guys on that list.
Well, right, and that's awesome. And another credit to Rick Barnes is you got to it all goes back to him. He's done so much for this program, but yeah, for guys like us, you hope that it would be the statistical guy, right? Not the most popular guy. Especially me as a diehard Tennessee fan, you hope that it is because you've seen it so many times. Peyton Manning, not get the award that he deserves. So yeah, good for
Isn't it
him.
sure?
Yeah, don't get me started. But yeah, good for him, and I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, no anger here, no soapbox
Yeah,
yet.
for sure. It's nice to, like you said, guys get rewarded for their on court play because a lot of times it does become a popularity contest. So, hey, it's a good a good award, one of the best awards that we see in sports, that you actually recognize a guy that's constantly putting in effort
Mm.
in the game. So nice to see that. Is what it is. Tennessee will be back there with another player next year, I'm sure. And then continuing on kind of the Tennessee theme, a story that I don't think we expected this to probably be our top story of the day. On three, Pete Nakos reports just a couple of hours ago, Nico is currently in contract negotiations. That is Tennessee's quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, in contract negotiations for the upcoming season, and does mention in his reporting that the door is not closed for him entering the spring transfer portal if things do not go accordingly. What's your kind of initial reaction? What are you thinking? What do you
Yeah.
expect to kind
So
of come out of this one?
I would encourage everybody to settle down a little bit. I know we're waiting for that disappointment that we always tend to have as Tennessee fans. Tennessee fans, I'm talking to you. Rest of the SEC, celebrate. Um, but it's all talk, man. Of course, it's not closed. That's what negotiations are about. Of course, the door is still open because that's what it is. So, until I hear Nico say that I am open to transfer, or one of the coaches say that, I'm not going to put any stock in it because, of course, it is. It's all talk and clickbait, and you got to mention that little nugget in there because you want eyeballs on it. So it is interesting that he's renegotiated his contract. I don't know, it seems a little strange, but you wouldn't expect that for a first year guy, but it seems like more and more every year that is it's NFL G League, so maybe that is the norm for a first year guy to renegotiate his contract, even though he's didn't necessarily live up to expectations. But on the other side,
Yeah,
still had a really good year if he was literally anyone else. So um,
right.
it's tough to be Nico, man. I wouldn't want to have his job. He is sure he's living the dream, but man, being that young and having all that on your shoulders, I mean, you know, Tennessee fans are not nice to quarterbacks. We'll just say that, given our history. I can I can attest to that. So
Yeah, it's one of those, like you said, anybody that's been around Tennessee fans, of course, people that are on the opposing side of Tennessee fans, they will be the first to tell you that they are a fan base that is quick to turn on themselves, but they are also the biggest supporters when they are. So it's, to me, obviously,
yeah,
Tennessee fans are probably going to take this, run with it. But I kind of, when I was thinking about this, it feels like there's layers to this story. Obviously,
for
Pete
sure.
Nakos, very well known. I don't think that he's not hearing this. I think there is something going on. Where he's hearing it from, who knows? And then this just kind of popped into my head. I'll see what you think about this. We heard earlier in the offseason, we started with Dante Thornton. He's going into the portal. They get him fixed. He's coming back. Then we see Ricky Gibson. He's gone for sure. All of a sudden, it gets quiet going into spring practice. I maybe I'm giving Nico too much credit, but I kind of just was thinking about, what if Nico is doing some contract negotiations to maybe get some more under the table guaranteed money,
Mm.
and that gives us some money to free up to give Ricky Gibson, keep some of these other guys happy that maybe you haven't heard about. Who knows? But
I
something
mean,
that just kind of popped into my head.
that's the most positive take, the most positive thing that could have happened. He's pulling a Tom Brady, a Tampa Bay Tom Brady. Um, what a sweet, sweet boy. But maybe I don't know. That could be it. Or maybe he's realized he's taking command of the offense this year, and he's getting it, and he feels confident, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna restructure. Because why not? Uh,
Yeah, and we did hear early in the offseason some rumblings of Nico meeting with coaching staff, going over changes and whether he was going to be happy. So it's not the first we've kind of heard of
Mhm.
Nico meeting with the staff to make sure things are right for him. But I think it previously has felt like it's more of a trying to help the program, and now
You hope
who
so.
knows? We'll see if that actually was the case or not.
You hope so. He is very active in the community and in the program and within his own organizations that he has with different charities and things. So I mean, he doesn't seem a guy who's all about the money, but I guess we'll find out. Where I hate to even think about this, but if he does transfer, where would he go? I mean, why wouldn't he want to be the quarterback of Tennessee? But I kind of just spoke on the both side of my mouth because the fan base. That's why. Get better, guys. Get better. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I think the first thing I think about is another program that's got a very high paid freshman quarterback coming in that you might want to sit for a season, which would be, of course, Dion in Colorado. He's got the number one quarterback coming in for this season, true freshman. Hey, we'll take you, Nico. Come play for us for a year, and then we just keep restocking.
wouldn't you?
That's the world of college football. That's something that would happen. I mean, you look at Georgia uncertainty. You know, Kirby, if there's a hint that he can get a quarterback that's trustworthy, he's going to make, not him, but people are going to make calls for him. And it's, yeah, like you said, that is college football, unfortunately, now where it could happen at any time. And you just, not a lot you can do about it if somebody outbids you.
It's truly free agency. It's unlimited transfers, and you go as long as you can. And if you want to go a little longer, you just ask a judge to give you more eligibility. It's that easy.
That easy. Hey, I was recruited to a junior college when I was coming out of high school. Can I have another year? Sure, take two.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And speaking of, so kind of staying in the college football realm, speaking of Colorado, something that also we saw kind of coming through towards the end of last week, this week, the NCAA, which we will kind of dive into, they have denied Colorado's bid to host Syracuse for a spring game. To me, the first thing I think is why. The second thing I think of is why do you care what the NCAA tells you to do? What do you think about this one?
That's actually a really good point. I didn't think about, and um, I guess that's interesting. Why wouldn't Colorado just say no, we're doing it anyways? But I did dive into this a little bit, and the NCAA had, not the NCAA necessarily, but their oversight committee, the NCAA, being their old selves again. They cited three main reasons, which were all silly and ridiculous and you know unfounded. But one was late timing. So they said it was planned too late, basically. The second was a recruiting advantage would occur for those two programs. Well, yeah, no S.
That's the
Gonna
point.
be, they're gonna be PG here about it. Yeah, that's the point. And the third was uh, academic issues where they didn't want players missing time for classes. Like, come on, guys! Really, you're just pulling at strings. That's really you're really concerned about that now? Okay, uh, yeah. So that was the three main issues that they had. The reasons they gave, like I said, were all silly and had no real truth to them at all. Um, well, except for the second one, of course, it was a recruiting advantage. That's the whole point. It's a new era in football. I think this is a great idea, um, especially in an era where teams are canceling their spring games, and the ones that are still having them aren't even televised. So great. Once again, less football, and we're paying more money to watch the football that we don't get.
Yeah, I am curious, like you said, where the product is seems like it's getting watered down more and more. I'm curious to see with all of the stuff that's going on this off season, do we start to see a drop off in viewership? We've had not the same complaints, but similar complaints about the NFL for years with refereeing, rule changes, reviews, things like that. And the NFL has not suffered. I'm curious to see, does
Well,
college football, who is much more of a niche market, although it's huge still, curious to see if that kind of starts to see any struggling moving forward.
well, I mean, I think we can attest to it. We grew up complete football heads from the moment we were awake. Um, but I think the just take our take Dad for example. He doesn't watch near as much college football now than he used to, um our a lot of our families the same way, and it's because they do not care for in the slightest this new era of college football. So yeah, I think we're gonna start seeing a dip in viewership, and a dip in ticket and goers. Those were the people who went to the games. They're not going to the games anymore. And guys like us, we're too busy or not going to drop, you know, $1,300 on a weekend in Neyland to do so. So yeah, I think it's still going to be huge. But yeah, I could see it being more of a smaller audience.
Yeah, it does feel like, and I think one of our complaints that we've run into is the thing that we always loved about college sports, college football, is how the whole playing for the love of the game, the thing that I'm a golf guy. Bobby Jones always said, if you're playing to play a sport, then you're really not playing because you love the sport. If you're getting paid to play a sport, it just takes away the passion. And I think a lot of people, like you said, that used to love watching because you knew how much it meant, you just aren't seeing that as much anymore. It feels more like a business transaction than it used to. And now it's almost the brands are taking over as the only thing that's holding the, hey, it still matters to us,
Mhm.
because the players, more and more, you're seeing players make business decisions all across the board. And
Yeah,
it's just not as fun.
it's sad. I've noticed I only hear, I love this university and this is the only place I ever wanted to be after a championship. Other than that, don't hear that very often anymore. It used to, that was after every game, after every news interview of a rivalry game or whatever it may be. It was, these guys were passionate for this place. This is where they wanted to be and nowhere else. And I will you know I will die for these guys. You don't really hear that anymore, unless they just passed off a trophy that they got handed. So it's just a different era. I still love football and I'm going to watch every second I can, but yeah, it's just not that way anymore.
It's true. And to your point, that is the biggest disconnect, because literally the fans are the ones that are, number one, investing into, they are paying into it, they're not getting paid. And a lot of fans really would go out there and die for their team. The great Kirk Cousins, one of my favorite quotes of all time, Kirk Cousins, if I die, I die. I'm going out there and playing. And it's, you just, like you said, it just doesn't happen anymore.
No.
You hardly ever see it. And I mean, we just got through a career of a couple of Tennessee guys, Ziegler and Meshack, that they were that. And that may be the last time that we see that.
Could
And
be.
it's sad.
Could be. Yeah, you're right. It very well could be. Um, You used to share that with the players on the field, and it's just not that way anymore.
Yep, 100%. And kind of transitioning into a not a sad story, but a story that a lot of Tennessee fans found frustrating moving in. But now you've got an opponent that, okay, whatever. Tennessee does find a replacement 26-27 season. They were scheduled to play Nebraska, what would have been one of those bring back the old rivalry home and homes. Everybody was looking forward to that. We talked about going to Nebraska, going to Neyland, seeing both of them. It would have been really cool. And you switch it for Georgia Tech. Okay, Tennessee has played Georgia Tech
Yeah,
previously. It will be fun, but it just does not have the buzz, unfortunately, that
not at
we
all.
would have seen.
No, not at all. And actually, I think episode one, I kind of called it. I said North Carolina and Nashville, which is, Georgia Tech and home is basically the same thing. So I'll take
Right
your
on
point
it.
on that one. Um, and yeah, it just doesn't have the same buzz. It'll be a good game. I'm glad that they got a team like Georgia Tech. I mean, no disrespect to them, but it doesn't have that classic electricity that Tennessee and Nebraska would have had. That's just, yeah, people are calling it an old rivalry restored, and it's like I guess I don't remember, not maybe could have fooled me because I wasn't around at that time. Um,
Yeah,
an old
credit to
rivalry,
Georgia Tech. They stepped
yeah,
up to the plate. I mean, that's a hard game to turn around, especially where Georgia Tech is still kind of rebuilding, trying to regain some of that luster that they've had as one of those teams you just don't want to play. They're trying to get back to that. And so credit to them to playing a program that's on the going in the right direction. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, like you said, maybe it's an old rivalry, but it definitely does not have the bad blood that we know Tennessee Nebraska does have.
yeah,
Teams that competed for national championships and teams that won beat you for a national championship.
mhm,
It
yeah.
just isn't quite the same.
Yeah, and I'm not saying in any way am I, because I'm not necessarily stoked by it. Am I saying that uh, this is going to be an automatic W for Tennessee? Because it's not. I think Georgia Tech is a pretty good program with a really good coach. He's going to do some good stuff there. So they're gonna. I think they'll be great football games. I'm just not super excited about it. I guess given the choice between the two.
Yeah, for sure. And who knows if Georgia Tech comes out and they win 10 games next year and run through the ACC, have a chance to get in the playoff, then all of a sudden going into the 26th season, it's like, oh, okay, this is a big matchup. But
Right.
we'll see moving into it. You never know. But at least Tennessee kind of moves into a resume building team instead of what we kind of were expecting was a lower level kind
Yeah.
of cupcake schedule. So for the better for college football, at least.
Yeah, and Georgia Tech running through the ACC is not necessarily a crazy thought. I actually saw a article today when I was doing some research. The top 10, I can't even remember what publication it was, but they put together the top 10 returning starters, returning quarterbacks in the country, and our favorite guy with the most televised appearance ever was the number one returning Cade Klubnik for Clemson, which I thought was a hilarious number one pick. But I mean, he did great at the end of the last year, so whatever. But I think I know his parents' faces better than I know his. I'll never forget how many times they showed that guy's parents. That was the best meme that came out of that game against Tennessee a few years ago. So, anyways, I just thought that was funny, and I think Georgia Tech, yeah, could be right there. So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like you said, I mean, obviously Clemson has been able to get through that conference relatively well, but I mean, Cade Klubnik, he throws in games where you're like, yes, that he is as good as advertised, but there's a reason why. I mean, Clemson has not been as successful as they have been, and it starts at that quarterback position, and they've run into it since Deshaun Watson left. They've had a lot of guys that were
Yeah.
supposed to be as good as advertised and never really panned out.
Oh,
We'll see.
yeah. The ACC football is going to be interesting to watch next year. Who knows what Florida State's going to do? Surely they can't. There's no possible way they can be as bad as they were. And then we've got the Lamborghini Lemur who's taking over at Miami. So we'll see, man. I mean, we'll see. It's going to be very interesting. I think the ACC will have a good product next year, and they'll still lose the SEC, so that's fine with me.
Yeah, and just like that, we go from being disappointed in what we're going to get out of college football to okay, I'm ready to go. I
Yeah,
can't wait
man.
to see some of these. And that's what college football does because like you said, the storylines are there just in the ACC. Of course, we've got the SEC that always creates its own storylines
Every
and
week.
everywhere in between. The Big 10, every team from top to bottom, the Big Ten always finds an 0-8 team, gives Ohio State a game. You just never. It's still as much as the product has diminished at times. It still gives you the best storylines throughout the year for
Yeah.
sure.
And I actually just got an update on Nico. Let's see what it says. Okay, so it's just portal rumors right now. Still nothing official. I don't think we'll get anything today or even you know soon. But yeah, like you said, yeah, it's that quick. How we can be excited after just dogging the whole uh, product for 10 minutes. By the way, Nico was not on that list, but uh, two other SEC quarterbacks were the guy from Florida who has a broken shoulder apparently, and then and the what's the guy from South Carolina? I don't even have to cut this. I just went blank. I had both their names in my head, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, your Lagway is
Yeah,
Florida and Sellers is
yeah,
South
yeah,
Carolina.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, both of
Yeah.
those guys were on there. Of course, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think Nico, I think he was on the list, but to your point, he was not in the top 10. He was
No,
out, he was down the list some, which, okay, so what? We'll see what happens.
right?
But yeah, I mean, obviously, what you saw from South Carolina, they had towards the end of the season, they make a big run. Of course, the hype is going to be there. Lagway was really impressive last year coming in. Really wasn't he wasn't even the guy. He
Yeah,
comes in and just steals the job. So, yeah, I mean the SEC is crawling with young guys that should make for a really fun league.
I still think the football gods got us that year. Last year, I think Lagway probably beats Georgia if he doesn't get hurt. He looks so good in that game. That
Yeah,
was going to change the picture of the landscape of last year, and it just had to happen. In Georgia's favor once again that he gets hurt. But yeah,
I don't know.
like you said,
I don't know if people remember how close Georgia was to not being in the playoff, and then they end up being the number 2 overall seed. But like you said, they are 2 or 3 plays away from they're not even in it, and
yeah.
that was one of the big ones. When he goes down, completely changes the dynamic of that game,
Mhm.
and Florida ends up going in the wrong direction late. Georgia survives and ends up getting the bye. So it really did change the
Which
season.
Which let me be clear, I think Georgia's still going to be one of the top teams in the country until they're not. So I just got to do a little
Interested to
dig
see
every
what
now
they
and then.
do, what they get out of. I think I assume Compton is going to be the guy at quarterback. We'll see. And I know that they've got other talent coming in. It'll be interesting to see what they do there. But yeah, Georgia, of course, Kirby Smart, probably the best active coach in the
For sure.
country. We'll see where they go, but I wouldn't expect any kind of major drop off unless the injury bug or the arrest bug gets them at some point.
Yeah, take the steering wheels off, guys. I mean, come on, get some golf carts. Let's figure it out. Okay.
let's start Ubering. It's in the NIL budget. Let's
It,
get
I'm
from behind the
guarantee
wheel.
it is. Yeah. Well, anyways, we'll move on. Uh, don't want to get all of our Georgia family mad again. Even though I love
Hey,
to throw a little
just
elbow here and there.
just know your role. If you can't handle it, if it's something you struggle with, you gotta avoid it like the plague.
Yeah.
Just be smart about
Just
it.
drive
No
away. I
no
mean, walk
shade at
away.
no shade at any of those kids. They're 18, 19-year-old kids, but stay out of the situation if you can't handle the being in the situation.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
Easier said than done, as we all know. But
100%. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so kind of moving into more of the national sporting landscape, we did see one of the biggest sporting accomplishments we've seen in a while. Alex Ovechkin breaks Wayne Gretzky's goal
yeah,
record. This
sure
was
did.
really interesting looking at the comparison. So it was goal 895 for Ovechkin. Gretzky finished his career with 894, obviously. But what was crazy about this game, this was Ovechkin's 1,487th game. Gretzky retired in his 1,487th game.
Wow.
So,
I did not know that. Incredible.
in only a way that sports can do it, Ovechkin, in the same amount of games, cuts Gretzky by one. Gretzky at the game. It's a really cool story. Ovechkin is one of the guys that we watched growing up, kind of getting into hockey.
Yeah.
One of those that just one of those big sports moments that really is impressive that you just don't see those records falling like they did kind of in the previous generations.
Yeah, and always a guy you wanted to root for. Never once a guy that had any controversy from what I can remember. Always a guy you could root for. And yeah, so good for him. That is really cool. I had no idea about that stat though. I was gonna say, and that lends to this point I was gonna make is that hockey is one of those sports that seems to be pretty much intact. So it's not really one of these situations where like, well, yeah, he broke the record, but he had this many more, blah blah blah, or it's just different sport, than it was like we
Right.
hear a lot of these arguments with other guys who break records. So good for him. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, like you were saying, that of course you always would root against him because he wasn't playing for your team, but you always
Sure.
hoped that you could get a guy like that to play for your team.
Yeah.
He's he is the quintessential, you hate him if he's not yours, you love him if he's yours, but he's not a guy like I think a lot of people that are not Penguins fans would say Sidney Crosby. He's not likable. He's easy to root
Right.
against.
Yeah. Of
Ovechkin
course.
is one of those guys that's not really easy to root against because he just
Exactly.
went about his business. He got it done, and a record well deserved for a guy like him who just kept his head down and
Yeah.
did it for years.
And he looks like he works at a gas station in Oregon. I mean, he's just the guy. He's just a
Yeah,
happy looking guy that is not on any magazine. Just that toothless smile there, and it's awesome.
yeah, and a guy that kind of did it the right way. I don't know if you kind of paid attention leading up to that, but he had the prior game or leading up to that record breaker, he had a 2 goal game, had a chance at an empty netter for the hat trick for the record, turned it down because he wanted to break the record the right way. And it's just
I
one of
mean,
those
how can
things
you
that
be mad at that?
exactly, it's just as cool of a way to do it, of course, with the great one in the house. He was at those games leading up and really cool, a
Yeah.
cool record, probably one that maybe it gets broken, but it's going to be a long time if it does get broken.
Oh, I agree. We won't. We'll be too old and senile to realize it when it happens again. I think, if it even is that long or that short of a time frame, for sure.
Yeah.
So good for him. Happy sports news.
Yeah. Finally, some happy sports news and a little bit of not necessarily unhappy sports news, but kind of neutral sports news going into transitioning to our local NFL team, the Titans, do make an announcement at their new play-by-play or their new commentator for the upcoming season. I'm not sure if you saw this. They confirmed
Yeah.
Taylor Zarzor. He had did
Yeah.
some commentating for SEC Network, did some football. He was the guy that I mentioned, couldn't think of his name last week. He does also currently doing PGA Tour radio
Yeah.
for the Masters this week. So he's good at what he does. It'll be interesting to see. It's big
Yeah.
shoes to fill, but they do move forward with a hire going into the new year. We'll see how he transitions into the kind of the professional side of the
Oh,
sports
yeah.
game.
I think it's a great choice. He's got a great voice. He's a southern guy. He's got that country flavor that Nashville needs, but he's got a great sportscaster voice. He's the guy that he's that kind of guy I was hoping for. I think he's going to bring a really good atmosphere. I like it. I watched an interview with him just recently, and I'm sold. I think he'll be pretty good. I think he's going to fit in really well. So I think it's a great choice. Good start, Titans. Now let's get to the draft and make better choices there too.
Yeah, speaking of draft, that's kind of where I want to maybe end the show on, kind of running down. It is officially, we are in April. It's draft season. I think we're,
Mm,
2 weeks away from the draft? 2 weeks from
sure.
today will be round one. And the Titans will be on the clock. It
Still
feels
there.
like the decision has been made, but who knows? That kind of will lead me into what my come on, bro, is going to be for this week. But where do you think the Titans go? What are you expecting? Do you see any changes? Is it Cam at one? And let's pack it up.
I think so. I mean, I think so, and I'm trying to be as here for it as I can. You know my stance. I am not a fan of it at all. I think it's a bad move, and it doesn't make sense to me. And I'll say it until it happens. But I think that's it. I think that's what's going to happen, and I hope he proves me wrong.
Yeah, and
So
you
far,
are, to your credit, or kind of for clarification, you are not necessarily anti Cam Ward as a
oh,
player.
not at
You are
all.
more on the lines of they have too much work to do to ruin a rookie's career
You got
by
it.
drafting him and saying, go fix it for us, because there's so many other things that the franchise has really struggled with for a while, going back to John Robinson after he kind of fell off the rails, was really good early, and whatever happened, who knows. And then Vrabel kind of gets stuck in his ways. We see him not willing to adapt as much. And since then, we've seen that just go downhill. And you wonder about where does ownership line up at times. You don't hear from the brass as much as you would like to. And
Mhm.
so it's more of the franchise, not necessarily the player at number one.
Oh, for sure. I am fully blaming all of this on the franchise and not on Cam Ward. I think he's going to be great. I think he'll be great wherever he goes. I just think I just don't want his fate to be sealed in a dumpster fire that is the Nashville City Titans. Of the NFL, Cleveland, whatever they might as well change their name. That's how bad it is. But don't get me started on that because that's not my come on, bro, for the week. So yeah, I think Cam Ward's a great player. I would love to have him. I just don't think the Titans are ready for him, which is silly to
Yeah.
say because they have the number one draft pick. So I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know what to do.
It'll be interesting to see for me, like if they get a big haul that makes them move out, so be it. To me, I'm kind of looking at it as if the draft starts at basically pick three, because I think we know you're probably going to see quarterback go at number two, whether it's if in some world it's
Mm.
Cam goes at two or Shadur goes at two. You're going to see that. And
Yeah.
then I think it's going to be really hectic starting at three. and leads the Titans into potentially a chance to steal a guy at 35. Uh, or if
Yeah.
you're lucky, you get a couple of these guys dropping, and that pushes some of those first round talents out. And then potentially that's where I think the Titans could make a big move is if the chips fall where they hope they do. I
Mhm.
think they would be fine with trading out of 35 and getting picks there. And then you can
Oh,
still
yeah.
go get your needs, and then you add maybe a third round pick, which they don't have. And then that's maybe where
Yeah.
you see it kind of fall into place. But it feels like at this point, especially with the way that they're kind of advertising themselves, I don't think they're going to
Yeah.
get what they want at number one. I think they're pretty content on sticking and picking, and
Yeah. I
we'll
mean,
see how it goes.
so many opportunities for that to happen, for anything to happen, and it's just a matter of who goes before you. It changes that quickly, and that's what's so exciting about draft night is because you never know what's going to happen. Are the Titans wrong for sticking with Cam Ward? I mean, the more I think about it, no, but maybe not. But yeah, like I said, I just don't know how it's. I just don't know how it's going to help them right now. Um,
Yeah, it really felt like they were always just kind of being here locally, paying attention to what's going on with the insiders of the local media. It really always felt like a big trade offer for number one was almost more of a wish list than teams actually bidding
yeah,
for it.
yeah,
And it feels like it just never has come to fruition. And then
mm,
it seems like the way that the Titans are acting, they're okay with that. So we'll
yeah.
see. I
We'll
mean, we'll
see.
see. It'll be interesting. But yeah, to me, I think, do you see suitors start to want guys like Jackson Dart? Does that change the draft? Do teams start moving up? That's where I think it'll get interesting
Yeah,
when you start getting into 5, 6, 7. That could change the entire
yeah,
draft. And how far does Abdul Carter fall? Does he fall? Does Shadur fall?
yeah,
Travis Hunter, probably the best player in the draft. Where does he go? That's when it's going to get fun. But I think, at least for me, number one's probably the most boring of the picks that you're going to see in the draft, which
yeah,
is rare.
yeah. And you always do, right? You always see a guy picked that you didn't expect, and then it changes the whole. I mean, by default, it changes the whole course of the rest of the draft. So, yeah, we'll see. It's always exciting, and here we are. It's almost
Yep,
time again.
for sure. And with that, now it is time for us to go into our Come On Bro segment for the week. You want to lead us off this week? I know you've got
Sure,
one chomping
man.
at the bits.
I didn't have a very good one last week because I was not prepared. I just gave some cute little dad advice, but I've got one this week, and it goes to the none other, to the friar of flops, the noble nepotist, the king of crybabies, the one and only, our favorite out of touch with reality NBA player, superstar, LeBron James. Come on, bro. You are 40. Stop flopping like a toddler. No one buys it anymore. I'm sick of it. This is why I stopped watching the NBA in 2007 because of you. Get over it, retire, and kick your little boy out of the league as well. Take him with you. You're ruining the sport. Come on, bro. And that's mine.
Careful now. We've seen what he's doing with Stephen A. You don't want to get what LeBron's got coming. You start
Okay.
talking about trash about LeBron and
All
Bronny,
right.
Stephen A's been dealing with it. And to
Well,
be fair to Stephen A, he's not afraid to drop the gloves either. But yeah,
no, he's
LeBron is
not.
one of those guys that we have seen. He is a could have been an Oscar winning actor at times. He is
You will
impressive
never.
to watch how well he can be sniped out of the air.
Yeah, I mean, they need more security in LA because there's snipers everywhere, man. It's really sad to see. No, you'll never be the goat acting like that. I'm sorry. I've I just I'm tired of my news feed being filled with flopping LeBron James memes, and as a guy who doesn't even watch the NBA, it's egregious. It's sad. It's pitiful. It every time I see this, it's like, oh yeah, well that's why I stopped watching the NBA because yeah, and you just see the players around him, and they are embarrassed, and the coach is embarrassed, and everybody's looking around like, "All right, let's get on with the game." And he's rolling on the floor like the a 3 year old, and it's like it it's embarrassing. I don't know how. I guess he's just done it so long. He's not embarrassed by it anymore. But it makes me embarrassed. I feel my cheeks blush while watching it. I would hate to be his teammate when he does that nonsense. And I'm sure there's other takes that will completely destroy mine. But just from my perspective, it's just come on, bro. It's silly. It's sad. You're a man. You're 40.
Yeah, you're not a dinosaur. Get a job. It's yeah. To me, LeBron is the classic case of you love him or you hate him, and
Mhm,
there, like you said, plenty of people will be lining up to defend him. Everybody does it. That's just the modern NBA. That's how you get fouls.
mhm.
But a lot of people that have watched sports for more than 10 minutes will be like, "Yeah, but look at what it was." I
Exactly.
mean, I grew up. I used to love watching the NBA as a basketball guy. I really enjoyed it and have fallen off, unfortunately. And part of that is just growing out of eras. You have players you like to root for, but yeah, I mean that is one of those that the NBA, the ratings show it. It's a product that's just not as watchable as it used to be. And
Not even
speaking
close.
of products that are likely going to not be very watchable, my come on bro for this year is going to go to a team we were just talking about, the Titans, because whether you are set in your ways or not, whether you know you're going with Cam Ward or not, why would you pick now to go ahead and just completely show your hand? And that is the fact that they canceled their private workout with Shadur Sanders and basically telling everybody, don't worry, we got it. We already know what we're doing. Just don't even give us a call. Come
Hmm.
on, bro. I mean, you got to keep the appearances up. If
Yeah,
nothing else,
I
Roger
know.
Goodell's going to call you and say, "Give me some drama leading up to the draft here,
Mhm.
Amy." And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
Oh, come on.
I
Oh,
don't
Amy
get it.
Hammer.
I
Sweet
understand it.
Amy.
I think that both parties knew where the team was heading, but why not? I mean, keep up appearances for as long as you can because you never know who gets desperate late, who really wants that quarterback, who falls in love with Cam, and
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
didn't do it. Come on, bro. Work out Sanders. Dion is
Yep.
he's not happy about it, but that's mine for the week. I just thought that was silly.
It was so silly. Yeah, my first thought was when I saw that was that, oh, this is going to strike a chord with Peyton, because I knew you were a Shador guy, and not that you've thought that the Titans were going to get him, but how silly is it to do that? Like, just why wouldn't you? What? Why not?
It's literally the whole point of the draft
I
season
don't.
is that you have to make it look like that everybody in the top 30 of the draft order is your number one pick on the board, and to
Yeah.
basically say, "No, we're good. We're okay."
And you know what? You know what's bad? The worst part is that if it was the Chiefs or the Eagles or even say who's a pretty good team that may go for a quarterback this year. I don't know. Insert team here wouldn't be a big deal, but it's a team that we all know needs a quarterback. What are you doing, guys? Like, what is happening up there?
Yeah, and to go right back to a similar vein, Brian Callahan does not go to Shadur's pro day. A lot of the Titans brass is not there. It's just we all know that Cam is your guy. Cam Ward is the quarterback if you take a quarterback, but why not keep up appearances because that's not the point.
Yeah,
You may have made up your mind, but what if
Yeah.
you get this call that says, "Hey, I'll give you 2 firsts"?
Right.
Then
What
it's
is
like,
it
yeah,
makes
you just blew it.
Yeah, it makes me wonder who's running the show. Who has got such a stranglehold on the top brass up there that they're making these decisions. It's just silly. It's there's no football IQ in it. It's wild to me. There's no. Yeah, I agree, man. That was a good one.
And the good thing is, if you're the Titans, if it works out, it works out. It doesn't matter. And it probably doesn't matter either way. But it's just one of those things that the NFL, we all know, is a made for TV product. The draft is a TV product. You know that the NFL's thinking, come on, Titans. You had one chance to give us some drama, let it build a little, give us something. And the Titans, in only the way the Titans would do, say, no, we're fine. We'll just do what we're going to do,
Yeah, I
whether
would
it makes
honestly
sense or not.
I would honestly go as far as to say is Roger may have made a phone call to Nashville after that. It's like, guys, we're an entertainment business, right? Could you at least play
Yeah.
along? You know, uh,
Miss Amy's got an outstanding voicemail from the front office of the NFL headquarters.
yeah, yeah. I bet it really does make you wonder who's running the show. But yeah, man, um, that was a good one. I knew it would strike a chord with you, so I'm glad you picked that one.
Yeah, it was one that just to the point of our segment, it just made me kind of shake my head and say, "Come on, bro. I mean, what are you thinking?" But that's why we have this segment. We appreciate everybody joining in. Let us know what made you say, "Come on, bro," whether it be in your everyday life, in the sports world. Give us what you got. Let us know what you want to see next week. And we will see you next week for episode number 4. We appreciate you tuning in.
See you guys.